Hey Michael, was waiting this long for Halloween Kills worth it? Yes. Halloween Kills was released in 2021 and is a slasher film, and I can't believe we are finally here. I am a huge slasher movie fan, and most importantly, I am a huge Michael Myers fan. He is my favorite slasher villain of all time, and I was so hyped for this movie. I really liked the 2018 one, and like all slasher movies, it had its problems, but overall I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't wait for Halloween Kills, and it is finally here. So this movie follows right after Halloween 2018, where Michael Myers is on the loose yet again, but this time Haddonfield fights back. Let me get right into the positives here. This movie is brutal. Oh my god, this is the most brutal Halloween movie I have ever seen. And yes, I've seen the Rob Zombie movies, unfortunately, but this movie is the goriest, brutal, most visceral Halloween movie I have ever seen. Some of these kills, I swear, some of these kills when they showed up, I literally was like, oh, like I was like, oh my god, Michael, no, but also yes. Seriously, I couldn't believe how brutal some of these kills were, and some of them were actually very, you know, artistic, dare I say? Like, Michael Myers was definitely getting into Jason Voorhees territory, where he was just like, you know what, screw it, let's just have some fun here. Let's, you know, poke some eyeballs and crush some heads. You know, he was really getting into it in this movie, and I loved every second of it. Without a doubt, if you love carnage candy, if you love blood, if you love gore, Halloween Kills is the movie for you, and I really, really liked it. Even though the kills are awesome, I really feel like there's a story behind all these brutal kills. Like, Michael has just been cooped up for so long, and you just see that he is just so impatient now. Like, he doesn't care. As much as, like, people talk about how patient Michael Myers is, like, with his walking, and how he doesn't feel like he's in a rush, this one, you feel like he takes out all his frustrations out with these brutal murders. And I really find that interesting that Michael Myers is actually showing some character in these kills. I actually find that super interesting, and I like that they went in that direction. I actually really like the acting in this movie. The acting in this movie is way better than the 2018 one. You really get to see Karen and Allison, you know, you get to see them act in this movie. You get to see their acting chops, and it really works out, because in 2018, they were like the non-believers. They're like, oh, Michael Myers isn't real. In this one, they're like, yo, Michael Myers is real. Our dad slash husband, you know, he's gone, and you're really starting to see the trauma they're going through, and I really liked the journey they went through in this movie. And along with that, you also got to see the survivors of Michael Myers from the 78 movie. And I love that they brought them back. Such great cameos. If you're a Halloween fan, you obviously you were probably cheering inside when you saw them show up on screen, because it's so cool that they just want to honor the original movie as much as possible. And I loved having them in it because it shows how much Michael not only affected Laurie's career, but also everyone else's career. Like, he really left a stamp in Haddonfield back in 78, and I love that people are still talking about it, and it really made the movie more emotional and enjoyable. I'm pretty sure everybody who's reviewing this movie is going to talk about the flashback scene, so I'll talk about it. I loved it. Easily my favorite part of this movie, and that's not a diss to the rest of the film. I like the rest of the film, but this one just stood out, because if you're a fan of the original Halloween, which I'm pretty sure every Halloween fan is, it is the best movie out of the entire franchise, without a doubt. But the fact that they were able to take something, recreate the tone and feel and aspect of the original movie in this flashback scene was awesome. It was honestly incredible. I was blown away by the attention to detail, and I won't spoil it for you because it's too good to spoil, so I am not going to spoil it. Anyways, they do stuff in this movie that adds to the lore of the original movie and adds to Michael Myers, and I was just like, this is different, this is cool, I like it. In fact, I liked it so much that I actually kind of wish they did an entirely separate movie of that. You know, kind of recreating Halloween 2, you know, the original Halloween 2 that came out, where it was, you know, a continuation of the night. So I kind of wish they made a separate movie of that, but I know they're trying to do something different. That's fine. But looking at that flashback scene, I was like, can we get an extension of that flashback scene into a full feature film? Just saying. I'm just saying. Great scene. That is definitely going to be one of the more iconic scenes in the Halloween franchise. Now, there is one aspect of the film that I know is going to divide people. I know it is, and I know what storyline it is. Here, let me talk about it. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to say that I actually really like the realism they took into applying how a crowd is going to act when there's a murderous guy on the loose. Like, you know, you see a lot of movies and it's very self-contained. Like, even the original Halloween movie. You just don't get to see the rest of Haddonfield. You feel like there's only like 5 to 6 people in the town of Haddonfield. But in this one, you get to see that it's actually a very populous city. There's a lot of people there. So it's nice that they actually added a lot of people into the city to make it feel like, hey, this is a real town. It's affecting people. He's not just going after 2 houses and then dipping. No, he doesn't care who's in his path. He's going to murder everybody in his path. So you start to see how a crowd that is clearly scared for their lives because they don't know who's next. They're just seeing more and more people coming to the hospital that are severely injured or dead. It starts to create that mob-like mentality where it's just like pitchforks and torches where like, evil dies tonight, you know, that kind of stuff. I found that to be a very refreshing aspect to the slasher films because, again, with slasher films, when you look at like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger movies, they're very self-contained. Even though it's in the public, it's like there's only like 5 to 10 people at most in this little bubble where this rampage happens. But in this one, it really is an entire city where hundreds of people are freaked out about this. And I thought that was interesting. Could they have executed it a little better? Yes. And if you've watched the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There is something that happens that I was like, interesting, but I do like the overall theme they were going for and how much a mob mentality can affect the entire city and the mentality of it. So I know I'm rambling right now, but I will say I liked it, but I think they could have executed it a little better. Now let me go into my negatives. Let me just say this. I really liked the comedy in 2018. A lot of people didn't like it. I personally liked it. That little kid was hilarious in that movie. This one, they really doubled down on it. There was a lot more humor, and I will say I laughed at most parts, but there were some parts I was like, man, I really feel like there shouldn't be joke telling right now. Like, if there's a dude on the loose just brutally murdering your neighbors, like, I don't think this is a time to like crack some jokes, you know what I mean? And the worst part of the comedy was that there's these 3 kids, these 3 children. I hated them so much. And if you've watched the film, you know which kids I'm talking about. I didn't like them whatsoever. Like, the way they acted towards everybody, I was like, man, the kids don't talk like that. You know what I mean? Like, and the way some adults were talking to them, that's not how adults talk to kids. That's not how some kids act. So I just felt like that was totally unnecessary. Like, the way they were acting, it's like, yeah, there's like doubt, but then there's also like doubt to the point where like, okay, you just like do not care what's going on around the world. Like, there are some people that are non-believers. Like, it's one thing to be a non-believer, and it's one thing to just totally ignore the entire situation that's going on right now. So I didn't like those kids. I'm glad they weren't in the movie long. They didn't have a lot of screen time, but the screen time they did have, I hated them. Kind of going along with that, with the jokes and all that stuff, this happens with every slasher movie. The dialogue is very hit or miss. Some are really good. Like, there were some aspects in this movie, like there were some scenes where I was just like, wow, this is great. Like, I love this interaction. Please keep it going. And there were some scenes where I'm like, okay, was this needed? Like, you could have just taken this out and the movie would have been fine. Like, there's always just some dialogue where you know it is so force-fed. Like, we're going to hunt him. Evil dies tonight. It's just like, those are so clearly like force-fed to be like those little like, those cool like little sounds you can put in trailers to get people hyped for the movie. You know what I'm talking about? Like, cool moments. But in a movie aspect, if you're actually looking at it from a realistic perspective, it just wouldn't happen like that. So this happens with every slasher film, which is why I'm not too upset about it, because every Halloween film has hit or miss dialogue. The dialogue in this is fine, but there were some aspects I'm like, okay, just nobody talks like that. This is my biggest negative, without a doubt. There's a lot of smart characters, there are, but there continues to be this trend of having the dumbest characters in slasher movies. I don't know why slasher movies got the short end of the stick of having dumb characters, but, like, it amazes me how stupid people can be in this movie. Like, for God's sakes, how many times am I going to see people say, okay, let's split up, or I'm going at this alone? Why? Michael Myers has murdered like 1,000 people at this point, and you still think you can take him 1v1? No, you can't take him 1v1. No one can 1v1 Michael Myers. I really want people to understand this. You can't face Michael Myers alone. You can barely face him with like 3 people. You need an entire crowd with you to go against this guy, but yet for some reason, people just want to be the hero and just say, I'm going at this alone, or let's split up. Like, this is how people die. This is how Michael is still going strong, because people continue to make ridiculous decisions. And it just really affected this movie, because when you just see how bad these decisions are made, it starts to become predictable. Like, oh, split up, okay, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, and then we're down to this one person. It starts to become, you know, rinse, recycle, repeat. It starts to become that, and it does affect the quality of the movie a little bit, because you've just seen it in every slasher film, and I'm just like, yo, can we try and do something else for once? Also, this movie definitely went longer than expected. Like, you know, I kept looking, I was like, man, this is still going. Like, look, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, I get it, they want to try and get as much as possible. This movie's, what, an hour 45? That's way too long for a slasher film. You could have easily made that 130, 125 even, and it would have been so much better. Again, there were some scenes that went on a little too long, or some scenes that weren't needed, or just some kills that weren't needed, even though those kills are so brutal. There were just some scenes where I'm like, okay, they're just really extending this. Like, they could have just cut this out, made it a tight 125, and everybody would have gone home happy. But they just made it way too long. And, you know, another thing, I've been thinking about this. After I watched the movie, I really thought about it. I looked back at the trailer. Is it just me? Like, the marketing for this movie was totally different than what was actually put on film. For those of you who've watched the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like, the trailers really made the movie seem like it was going to go one way, but the movie made it go a totally different direction that I did not expect happening. Like, again, I'm not going to spoil it, but there are certain characters in this movie that you think they're going to be in this movie longer, but they're actually in the movie little to no, like, none at all. Like, I was really surprised some characters weren't in this movie a lot longer than I expected, but I mean, they're really setting up that third film. They're really setting up that third film where it's finally going to be it. Even though Halloween Kills was like, Evil Dies Tonight, or it's finally over. It's not over. Even though they confirmed that there's going to be a third movie. This is going to be a trilogy. So you know they're really trying to extend it as much as possible, really stretch this story out to the point where you're just like, man, where do you go from here? You've already done so much in this movie, and they did. They did so much in this movie. A lot of killing, a lot of characterization. So now for this third movie, you're just like, so like, what now? I mean, I kind of know where they're going to go, but I'm just like, man, they could have made this 2 movies and it would have been good, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like this could have been 2 movies instead of 3, but again, I'm not going to complain as a Michael Myers fan of getting a third film, so what are you going to do? Overall, guys, I really enjoyed Halloween Kills. There are some problems with this movie, but I feel like that happens with every slasher film. When it comes to Halloween 2018 Halloween Kills, from a story perspective and from a pacing perspective, Halloween 2018 is the better film. But in terms of carnage candy, in terms of just dumb fun, just enjoyment, just going with your friends and going, oh my god, like how can a human being do that? Can a body do that physically? Halloween Kills is a really good film. It's dumb fun. I know people are going to go like, all cinematic with it, like, no, like, the shot should have been like this, or like, no, just, did you have fun? Yes, I had a lot of fun. I'm giving this movie a B. A lot of fun. I think I might enjoy 2018 a little bit more, and that's because the focus was more on Laurie and Michael, which I liked, and this one focused more on Michael just absolutely bodying the entire city of Haddonfield. So I really liked Halloween Kills, but I think Halloween 2018 is just a little bit better. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.